So, Guenther Steiner is out of a job. You know who isn't out of a job? Mick Schumacher. So the deed is done, and has probably been done for quite a while, since the press release for Haas's dismissal of Guenther Steiner has been on embargo until Wednesday, January the 10th at 5 PM. For us mere mortals, yes, this is indeed a bit of a surprise. I only just made a video about the subject a couple of weeks ago, me stating that basically what Haas is lacking is a lack of vision, because their top boss has basically just come out many times this year and gone, in terms of ideas for the future, we have no ideas for the future. He was floundering around, not really having a clue as to what could be the problem about their upgrades, the fact they only bring one upgrade package a year, and the whole thing about investing in the 2022 regulations and then you can go from there and be a midfield team. Well, that didn't work, and quite clearly Gene Haas has had enough and has mainly given Guenther Steiner the boot, the main person that actually kinda made the Haas dream happen in the first place. As I mentioned in that previous video, it was Guenther Steiner who made the Haas reality happen by getting deals with the likes of Dallara to make the chassis and build the car, and the likes of Ferrari to provide the power units and the engine. That was a really big deal because Gene Haas didn't really have a clue as to where to go to try and source all of these things. Guenther Steiner, a decade ago, got the Haas reality rolling, and within the space of 2 years, they had a team which was fairly decent. There is no knocking Guenther Steiner in terms of what he was able to do to make Haas a reality and being able to bring a team together. But the issue that Guenther Steiner clearly has is that he doesn't really know what else to do from there. And the whole thing with Rich Energy, that wasn't necessarily Guenther's deal, and dealings with sponsors, again, not Steiner's problem, but, you know, the guy who's answering his phone calls, and vice versa. Haas's problems over the last few years haven't exactly been Guenther's fault, let's just say that, but he's been the one where the buck stops at, and he's been given the shove. After all of these years, we never thought that it would happen. I feel so sorry, by the way, if you're a Netflix producer right now for Drive to Survive, I feel your pain. It's going to be okay. It's okay. Danny Rick's here. It's alright, fellas. But in all seriousness, in regards to the future of Haas, Guenther Steiner leaving, you would think that this might be an uptick in what we could expect. That maybe finally, Gene has realized that in order to try and find some new innovation and find some progress up and down the grid, trying to actually improve on what they have, and also most importantly, keep Nico Hülkenberg, because they really nearly lost him if they didn't take up that option, or if they didn't have that option, to maybe look at the likes of Otmar Safnauer or Mattia Bonotto, because they are team principals who have been with fairly decent teams. Otmar would be pretty good, actually, because he was really good with a really small and agile team like Force India and Racing Point. They were able to punch above their weight, and Otmar was right there in the middle of it. And of course, he has connections with the Pink Water Filter Company. A little bit of BWT MoneyGram Haas F1 Team, perhaps. Well, speaking of MoneyGram, that might have had something to do with it. Maybe for the fact that Haas came 10th. Maybe MoneyGram had a little bit of pressure on that side as well. But the main issue is that I look at the press release, and they got Ayao Komatsu, and he is a continuation. He is a technical person, he is an engineer by trade, he's been responsible for the engineering side of Haas for the longest time, ever since they started, and that's all well and good. It's good to have somebody who is a bit of an engineering bod in charge of the entire widget. Fine, that's fair enough. But what Gene was talking about here, and the entire vibe I got from that statement, is that this is not a team that's looking to put in loads more investment and try and improve their facilities. This looks like a team that's going to try and make do and mend what they already have. It's not really something that really brings a lot of encouragement toward my really fragile and frail mind. It just makes me think that Gene is really not looking to pump more money in. He's quite happy with MoneyGram bringing in the money, thank you very much indeed, and it just doesn't really feel all that ambitious. Having Komatsu in there, yeah, it's all well and good, and he's done his time. He's been working right under Steiner, so he would know exactly what to do in terms of running a team, from that very small pit lane paddock, which apparently saves $250,000 a year. That's how much penny pinching is going on here. But the situation is that they're looking to be more efficient with the stuff they already have, which means that no extra money from Gene is coming in, despite the fact they got rid of Guenther, who, as I said, made the Haas dream actually turn out really quite competently for the first few seasons. 2018, they were 5th in the constructors on a shoestring budget with a customer chassis, effectively, and Ferrari-powered engines. Oh, and on top of that, Simone Resta, the guy who's in charge of the Haas Maranello shoebox, where some of the Ferrari refugees were busy having a bit of a job, and Haas saving their lives thanks to the cost cap, well, he's gone. He quit, apparently to do with a lack of motivation. A similar reason why Pat Fry went to Williams from Alpine. They were lacking innovation and motivation and a desire to try and win races, just making do. After 3 years in the job, Simone has probably just gone, you know what? I'm sick and tired of this. We haven't really progressed anywhere. 2022 was a bit of a bust. We were at one point 5th place in the constructors and we fell down to 8th. That's not really good in terms of trying to get yourself up of the grid and scrimping and saving and being stingy. Yes, it's good to be efficient, but there is a cost cap, people, and this is meant to help with the likes of the smaller teams, including Haas. There is more capex spend going on with the likes of Haas. So Gene being this stingy, this is just telling me that I reckon that this is a last throw of the dice for the likes of Haas, and if Ayao Komatsu cannot make this work, then I fear that Haas may pull the plug in maybe a year or two's time. They may not see out the 2026 campaign. I'd be very interested to see what their press releases are in regards to their development towards the brand new regulations. If they're quite lax and they decide to not throw away the 2025 season and look to 2026 like they did the last time around new regulations came along, that would be incredibly telling. I would be very interested to see what happens. Maybe this, again, could be a last chance saloon, see what Komatsu does. If they're still 10th place and they really don't kick on, well, not only are they going to lose Nico Hülkenberg, they may very well lose the desire to even compete. And maybe after all of these years, effectively since 2020, Michael Andretti might have that call with Gene Haas and could easily buy out the team, because Haas at the moment are the second least valuable team on the F1 grid. Only a mere $800-ish million, maybe a little more by now, or maybe a little bit less. But if Andretti want to compete, they would originally have to have that $600 million dilution fee if they wanted to come in wholesale. It's only a couple $100 million more to buy out a team outright. It's a turnkey deal with all the stuff they got in Indianapolis. And then, hey, we might get the Indianapolis Grand Prix back again, and then we can get rid of Miami, and then we can have a genuine American track with a lot of heritage, some of the best heritage in American motorsport, and Andretti, the team, right on its backyard. That would be so much better. But we're mainly talking about Haas here, folks. Well, Guenther Steiner is gone. So far, he hasn't made a comment, but investment. They need more sponsors. They need you, Gene, to focus on them. They're not a billboard for your company. There is a saturation point for CNC machines. Lots of people in the comments of my videos have said they didn't really know much about Haas. They're not going to buy a CNC machine, or what you already have is really not instilling confidence, because the fact is your teams are not exactly doing great with the facilities and tools you already have and produce. And let's be real here. There's a lot of controversy regarding your sponsors. Thankfully, MoneyGram is quite tame. But in any case, this has probably been brewing for the last few days, and given the fact that Haas came 10th, and there was really nothing in their way, there was no investing for the following season, they had the car, they even brought an upgrade, but it didn't work. And Nico Hülkenberg was quite vocal about the fact, going back to the original specification, and then realizing at some tracks it was kind of bad, and then Kevin had the right deal anyway. Kevin Magnussen, who was really buoyed up in 2022, suddenly looked like a really lost sheep, like Mick Schumacher was last year. And all the while, Williams is having a great time with James Vowles at the helm, the complete antithesis to what Haas are. They're the Paragon team, whereas Haas are the Renegades, not even really particularly good Renegades. Now, look, I want Haas to do well. I really, really do. But I just don't really feel that much confidence regarding the appointment of Komatsu in terms of really kicking on, turning things around, making good on what they have, and then building upon it. Instead, they're just trying to make things more efficient. And I know what McLaren have done. They've made things more efficient, but they still have put in a lot of money, and they have been investing in a brand new wind tunnel, brand new facilities, and of course, all of the other stuff, bringing in brand new staff. They got David Sanchez from Ferrari. They've got Rob Marshall from Red Bull. They're going places, and yet also are being stealthy with their upgrades, every single one of them working every single time. Whereas Haas, I don't really feel that. Okay, it's good to know that whoever's in charge right now has got a bit of an engineering brain, which is very useful in terms of developments and upgrades, but he's still the same guy. Guenther Steiner was just the guy who made it happen. He's still one of the grunts, and I really don't get the feeling that people will be empowered, even though in the statement it talks about employee empowerment. But what did that mean? Did Guenther Steiner just override them or something like that for the sake of his own popularity and his memeness? Perhaps all of the rumors and the speculation about him being an executive producer of an American sitcom about being the boss of a race team, that was a get-out clause, his backup, to make sure that his memery lasts for even a bit longer. Maybe Netflix is funding it or something? But in any case, I'm really not feeling confident about this, and I really have got the feeling that we've got one more throw of the dice from Gene, and if this doesn't work out, and they're still last, or they don't look competitive at all, and Filet Mignon Formula 1 team actually bests them again, then Gene might pull the plug and look for a buyer. Probably Michael Andretti perhaps, but considering the history between those two, I doubt that he would, just simply out of stubbornness. But like I said about Williams, they are really going places, including the possibility of them completely refreshing their image after 10 years of the same pointed up arrow Williams logo. You can find out more about their brand new logo that has been quietly leaked in this video right now.